Today, we're going to be talking about Noam Chomsky's critique of US propaganda. People will think the term is strange. America doesn't use propaganda, that's other countries. But really, when you start to pay attention, not only do we use propaganda, but it's actually kind of everywhere, especially in times of war. One of the things Chomsky will say is that authoritarian governments don't really need propaganda because you can just crush dissent by force, right? You can jail journalists or disappear them or kill protesters if you need to. That is all, fine in the playbook of authoritarianism. But in a democracy, which hopefully the US will continue to be, although it's not clear, public opinion really does matter. And especially in times of war, you need to, using his words, manufacture the consent of the public to support the war effort. One of the ways, he gives a few reasons, but one of the most, I think, clear and instructive ways that American propaganda functions is by framing the terms of the debate. So what that means is, for example, in the lead up to the 2003 invasion of Iraq, U.S. war in Iraq, there was a debate about whether the war should happen. And if you looked in major publications like the New York Times, you would see what appeared on surface level to be a kind of rigorous debate about whether it's a good or bad idea. But really, the frame of the debate is so radically constrained that it functionally eliminates any real deep critique of the legitimacy of the US going to war. But it's important to remember what the invasion and war in Iraq was, which is a country, the US, on false pretenses, going across the world to invade another sovereign country that hasn't attacked you, right? Saddam Hussein wasn't connected to 9/11. We said they have WMDs. Then when that was known to be false, we shifted to say, well, we'd need to get rid of Saddam Hussein, conveniently forgetting to mention that we supported him throughout his worst crimes in the 1980s, including use of chemical weapons, and then shifting to say, oh, actually, we want to bring democracy to Iraq, right? Just rotating through reasons, seeing if one can stick. And it resulted in, the destruction of a country. Maybe 300,000, possibly 500,000 civilians were killed. I mean, this isn't a mistake. This is a crime, one of the worst crimes of the 21st century. And yet you'll never see it described that way in legacy media, partly because of Chomsky's point that the idea that the invasion of Iraq wasn't a mistake, but a truly brutal crime just doesn't fit within the framework of debate, doesn't fit within the propaganda model of how US wars are discussed. So where does that leave us? When we talk about the war in Iraq, it should be discussed in the same conversation as something like Putin's invasion of Ukraine, a totally illegitimate, violent, international crime that is against, right, the consensus of the UN and basically all of the countries in the world, and yet we don't discuss it that way. And it's worth thinking about why we don't.